Subversive literature, spanning the 13th to 20th centuries, traces a remarkable evolution from esoteric grimoires, steeped in magic and demonology, to modern manifestos dissecting social dynamics and power structures, reflecting humanity's shifting understanding of the world and itself. Early texts, crafted in an era of limited scientific knowledge, wove intricate rituals to connect with spiritual realms, naming demons and prescribing spells to harness unseen forces, driven by a belief in metaphysical realities. As society progressed, bolstered by scientific advances and a deeper grasp of human nature, subversive thought pivoted toward socio-political critiques, addressing class, gender, and institutional power with analytical rigor. This transformation mirrors a broader cultural shift from mystical speculation to material analysis, as Enlightenment ideals, industrialization, and modern psychology reshaped subversive discourse. Yet, a counterpoint persists. Did earlier texts possess authentic spiritual insights, derived from oral traditions or mystical experiences, that modern rationalism has overlooked? This essay examines this evolution through a chronological analysis of subversive texts, weaving their themes, mystical power, social justice, ideological extremism, into a narrative of intellectual transformation. It explores why subversive literature shifted from spells and demons to social and political theories, considering whether past authors tapped into a lost spiritual knowledge or merely reflected their era's ignorance of nature, and how these works influenced both popular culture and subcultures, shaping modern thought. The texts, ranging from medieval grimoires to revolutionary treatises, embody a spectrum of subversive intent. Early works like the Sworn Book of Honorius and the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic catalogue demons like Astaroth or Beelzebub, detailing rituals believed to summon them, rooted in a worldview where spiritual forces governed reality. Their intricate spells, drawn from oral traditions or religious syncretism, suggest either profound mystical insight or a lack of natural understanding. As scientific inquiry grew, texts like the Communist Manifesto and Rules for Radicals shifted focus to societal structures, analyzing power through economics and activism, reflecting a maturing understanding of human behavior. This evolution suggests that increased knowledge of nature and society redirected subversive energy toward tangible change, yet the counterpoint lingers. Did medieval authors, with their demon hierarchies and rituals, access a spiritual reality now dismissed? The interplay between popular culture, which embraced rationalism, and subcultures, which preserved esoteric traditions, fueled this shift, as information became more accessible, enabling broader critique. Theories on this transformation highlight the rise of empirical science, literacy, and social awareness. Medieval societies, lacking systematic biology or psychology, attributed phenomena to supernatural forces, making grimoires potent subversive tools. The Enlightenment and Industrial Revolution introduced frameworks for understanding human nature, shifting subversion toward political and social reform. Yet, the counterpoint questions whether this progress erased a deeper connection to spiritual truths, as oral traditions of demonology or mysticism suggest a knowledge not easily quantified. The detailed naming of demons in texts like the Lesser Key of Solomon raises questions. Were these invented, divinely inspired, or inherited from ancient lore? This essay traces this arc through 4 dimensions: the mystical foundations of early texts, the transitional philosophies of the Enlightenment, the rise of socio-political subversion, and the interplay of past and present knowledge, weaving a narrative that illuminates how subversive texts reflect and shape humanity's evolving consciousness. Chapter 1: Mystical Foundations of Early Subversive Texts. Subversive literature in the medieval era, from the 13th to 15th centuries, was deeply rooted in mystical and demonic frameworks, reflecting a worldview where spiritual forces dominated human understanding. Texts like the Sworn Book of Honorius, the Book of Abramelin, and the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic emerged in a time when science was nascent, and phenomena like disease or fortune were attributed to supernatural entities. These grimoires, with their detailed rituals and demon hierarchies, wove narratives of power through spiritual manipulation, challenging religious orthodoxy with forbidden knowledge. Their authors, often anonymous or pseudonymous, drew from oral traditions, religious syncretism, or alleged divine revelations, naming demons like Astaroth or Belial with specificity that suggests either mystical insight or imaginative synthesis. The counterpoint persists. Did these texts access a spiritual reality, or were they projections of an uncomprehending era? Their limited circulation among scholars and mystics amplified their subversive allure, positioning them against the Church's monopoly on truth, while their influence shaped early occult traditions. The Sworn Book of Honorius, written in the 13th century, is a medieval grimoire attributed to Honorius of Thebes, a mythical figure, weaving Christian mysticism with occult practices to offer rituals for summoning angels and demons like Asmodeus for knowledge, power, or curses, requiring fasting and sacred symbols in elaborate ceremonies that subvert religious norms by repurposing divine rituals for taboo ends, appealing to scholars seeking esoteric wisdom beyond ecclesiastical constraints, and contributing to metaphysical knowledge by threading narratives of spiritual rebellion that highlight medieval tensions between faith and forbidden knowledge, suggesting either a profound connection to spiritual realms through inherited lore or a creative response to an unknown natural world. The Book of Abramelin, composed around the mid-14th century by Abraham of Worms, presents an 18-month ritual to contact a holy guardian angel, granting authority over demons like Baal for curses or wisdom, blending Jewish mysticism with magical practices that demand rigorous preparation, subverting religious norms by merging sacred aspirations with demonic control, appealing to mystics seeking transcendence through esoteric means, and enriching occult knowledge by threading narratives of spiritual ambition that challenge faith boundaries, raising questions about whether its detailed demon names reflect ancient oral traditions or speculative invention in an era ignorant of psychological mechanisms. The Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, crafted in 15th century Germany, focuses on necromancy and demon summoning, detailing rituals with magical circles to invoke spirits like Agars for harm or influence, reflecting a superstitious era's fear of witchcraft, subverting Christian prohibitions by prioritizing supernatural control, appealing to practitioners seeking power or revenge, and contributing to esoteric knowledge by weaving narratives of defiance that reveal medieval anxieties about the occult, suggesting either a genuine spiritual connection or a projection of unexplained natural phenomena, with its demon hierarchies possibly drawn from folklore or religious texts. These early texts, rooted in a pre-scientific worldview, prioritized spiritual power, their detailed demonologies suggesting either mystical insight or a lack of natural understanding. Their subversive impact lay in challenging religious authority, weaving narratives that resonated with subcultures seeking hidden truths, while their limited reach ensured their mystique. The counterpoint persists. Their rituals, possibly rooted in oral traditions, may reflect a lost spiritual knowledge, influencing later occult thought despite their obscurity. Chapter 2. Transitional Philosophies of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment marked a pivotal shift in subversive literature, as texts began bridging mystical traditions with emerging rational and social critiques, reflecting a growing understanding of human nature and societal structures. Works like Malleus Maleficarum, The Lesser Key of Solomon, the Grimoire of Honorius, the Grand Grimoire, the Black Pullet, the 120 Days of Sodom, and a vindication of the rights of woman emerged from the 15th to 18th centuries, blending spiritual rebellion with rational inquiry. As scientific knowledge expanded, subversive texts started questioning secular and religious authority through reason, though some retained mystical elements. The naming of demons like Beelzebub in grimoires suggests either inherited lore or creative synthesis, while texts like Wollstonecraft's advocated social reform, reflecting a shift toward human-centric concerns. The counterpoint questions whether this move away from spiritual focus lost a deeper connection to metaphysical truths, as Enlightenment rationalism dismissed earlier beliefs as superstition. Malleus Maleficarum, written in 1486 by Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger, is a treatise codifying misogynistic beliefs about witchcraft, detailing methods to identify and execute witches, enforcing religious orthodoxy by framing dissent as demonic, reflecting late medieval fears, subverting rational inquiry with fear-driven persecution, appealing to authorities seeking control, and contributing to historical knowledge by weaving narratives of fanaticism that expose dogmatic dangers, with its demon references possibly drawn from biblical or folkloric sources, suggesting either spiritual insight or projection of societal fears, influencing witch hunts and later critiques of extremism. The Lesser Key of Solomon, written in the mid-17th century and attributed to King Solomon, compiles rituals for summoning 72 demons like Bua, offering control over supernatural forces for knowledge or power, subverting religious norms in an era of scientific growth, appealing to occultists seeking esoteric wisdom, and enriching occult knowledge by threading narratives of spiritual ambition, with its demon names likely synthesized from ancient texts or oral traditions, raising questions about mystical authenticity versus imaginative response to an unknown world, shaping modern ceremonial magic. The Grimoire of Honorius, composed in the late 17th century and attributed to Pope Honorius III, outlines rituals for summoning demons like Lucifer through sacrilegious acts, inverting Christian rituals to subvert orthodoxy, appealing to those seeking taboo power, and contributing to occult knowledge by weaving narratives of defiance. Its demon hierarchies possibly derived from medieval folklore, suggesting either a spiritual connection or creative fiction, influencing esoteric subcultures. Despite its limited reach, the Grand Grimoire, crafted in the early 18th century, details rituals for summoning Lucifer and demons like Astaroth for wealth or harm, requiring blood offerings, subverting Christian morality in an Enlightenment context, appealing to those seeking forbidden power, and enriching occult knowledge by threading narratives of supernatural ambition, with demon names likely drawn from religious syncretism, questioning whether they reflect mystical insight or misunderstanding of nature, impacting occult traditions. The Black Pullet, written in the mid-18th century, offers talismanic magic for wealth, love, or destruction, with spells to summon spirits like Belial, subverting moral norms in a rationalist era, appealing to practitioners seeking control, and contributing to esoteric knowledge by weaving narratives of magical utility, its demon references possibly from oral lore, suggesting either spiritual knowledge or speculative creation, influencing niche occult circles. The 120 Days of Sodom, written in 1785 by Marquis de Sade, depicts aristocratic depravity through graphic narratives of violence, probing moral limits with a nihilistic philosophy, subverting ethical norms in the Enlightenment, appealing to intellectuals exploring freedom, and contributing to philosophical knowledge by weaving narratives of moral inquiry, its lack of demons reflecting a shift to human-centric concerns, influencing ethical debates. A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, written in 1792 by Mary Wollstonecraft, argues for women's equality through education, subverting patriarchal norms with Enlightenment reason, appealing to reformers, and enriching feminist knowledge by weaving narratives of liberation, marking a shift to social critique, its rational focus reflecting a growing understanding of human nature, shaping gender discourse. These texts bridge mysticism and rationalism, their subversive power transitioning from spiritual to social realms, influenced by scientific progress. Yet the counterpoint questions whether their demonologies held authentic spiritual truths now lost to modern skepticism. Chapter 3. Rise of socio-political subversion. By the 19th and 20th centuries, subversive literature shifted decisively towards socio-political critiques, reflecting a deeper understanding of human nature, economics, and power dynamics. Texts like the Communist Manifesto, Dos Kapital, What is to be Done, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and the Book of the Law emerged as science and education illuminated societal structures, moving away from mystical rituals to address class, politics, and ideology. This shift mirrors the rise of political science and psychology, enabling subversive authors to analyze human behavior and systemic power, though the Book of the Law retains esoteric elements. The counterpoint persists. Did earlier texts' spiritual focus, with detailed demonologies, reflect a lost connection to metaphysical realities, or were they products of an unscientific era? The interplay between popular culture's embrace of rationalism and subculture's preservation of mysticism shaped this transformation. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, written in 1903 in Russia, is a disputed text purporting to reveal a Jewish conspiracy for global control, detailing plans for economic and political domination, with proponents arguing it uncovers elite manipulation based on historical crises, while critics assert it is a forgery plagiarized from Maurice Joly's Dialogue in Hell, used to incite anti-Semitism, subverting trust in institutions, appealing to conspiracy theorists, and contributing to knowledge of propaganda by weaving narratives of mistrust, its demon-free focus reflecting a shift to social manipulation, influencing divisive ideologies, possibly rooted in fabricated fears rather than spiritual truths. The Communist Manifesto, written in 1848 by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, calls for class struggle to overthrow capitalism, critiquing economic exploitation and advocating a classless society, subverting capitalist hierarchies with a vision of justice, appealing to workers and intellectuals, and enriching political knowledge by weaving narratives of collective empowerment, reflecting a scientific understanding of societal dynamics, shaping modern revolutionary thought, with no mystical elements, suggesting a departure from spiritual subversion. Das Kapital, written in 1867 by Karl Marx, analyzes capitalism's exploitative structures, detailing surplus value and class oppression, subverting economic norms with rigorous analysis, appealing to scholars and activists, and contributing to economic knowledge by weaving narratives of systemic critique, reflecting an advanced grasp of human economic behavior, influencing political discourse, its material focus marking a shift from mystical to social subversion. What is to be done? Written in 1902 by Vladimir Lenin, outlines revolutionary strategies for overthrowing Tsarist oppression, emphasizing a vanguard party, subverting political authority with a vision of liberation, appealing to activists, and enriching political knowledge by weaving narratives of organized rebellion, reflecting an understanding of social mobilization, shaping revolutionary movements, devoid of spiritual elements, highlighting the era's focus on human agency. The Book of the Law, written in 1904 by Aleister Crowley, codifies thelema, a philosophy of individual will through alleged supernatural revelation, subverting religious and social norms with esoteric insight, appealing to mystics, and contributing to esoteric knowledge by weaving narratives of personal liberation, blending modern psychology with mysticism, suggesting a partial retention of spiritual subversion, its demon references possibly drawn from ancient lore, raising questions about authentic spiritual connections. These texts mark a shift to socio-political subversion, driven by scientific and social insights, yet the Book of the Law bridges earlier mystical traditions, prompting speculation about whether past demonologies held genuine spiritual knowledge now overshadowed by rationalism. Chapter 4. Interplay of Past and Present Knowledge. The transformation of subversive texts reflects a dynamic interplay between past mystical beliefs and modern socio-political critiques, shaped by evolving scientific and societal understanding. Texts like Mein Kampf, the Satanic Bible, Rules for Radicals, the Turner Diaries, and the Black Book of Communism illustrate a 20th century focus on power dynamics, ideology, and human behavior, building on earlier rationalist foundations. The counterpoint questions whether medieval grimoires, with their demonologies, accessed a spiritual reality lost to modern skepticism, or if they were imaginative responses to an unknown world. The naming of demons like Mammon or Paimon in texts like the Grand Grimoire suggests either inherited lore or creative synthesis, influencing modern subcultures like occultism, while popular culture embraced scientific rationalism, creating tension between established and alternative histories. Mein Kampf, written in 1925 by Adolf Hitler, outlines an anti-Semitic, nationalist ideology, advocating racial supremacy and territorial expansion, subverting democratic values with authoritarianism, appealing to extremists, and contributing to knowledge of ideological extremism by weaving narratives of prejudice, reflecting a psychological understanding of propaganda, influencing catastrophic policies, its material focus devoid of demons highlighting the shift to social ideologies, possibly losing mystical insights of the past. The Satanic Bible, written in 1969 by Anton Lavey, codifies atheistic Satanism, using Satan symbolically for individualism and skepticism, subverting religious norms with a philosophy of hedonism, appealing to those seeking autonomy, and contributing to philosophical knowledge by weaving narratives of personal liberation, reflecting modern psychological insights. Its symbolic demons suggesting a reinterpretation of past spiritual beliefs, questioning whether earlier grimoires held authentic knowledge. Rules for Radicals, written in 1971 by Saul Alinsky, provides tactics for grassroots activism, empowering communities to challenge institutional power, subverting systemic authority with pragmatic strategies, appealing to activists, and enriching political knowledge by weaving narratives of social change, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of power dynamics, devoid of mystical elements, indicating a full shift to social subversion, possibly overlooking spiritual connections of the past. The Turner Diaries, written in 1978 by William Luther Pierce under the pseudonym Andrew MacDonald, depicts a white supremacist revolution, advocating racial genocide, subverting social cohesion with extremist ideology, appealing to fringe groups, and contributing to knowledge of propaganda by weaving narratives of violence, reflecting psychological manipulation. Its lack of spiritual elements underscoring the modern focus on social conflict, raising questions about lost mystical knowledge. The Black Book of Communism, written in 1997 by Stéphane Courtois and others, critiques communist regimes for causing oppression, subverting leftist ideals with historical analysis, appealing to scholars, and contributing to historical knowledge by weaving narratives of ideological failure, reflecting advanced social and political understanding. Its material focus suggesting a departure from spiritual subversion, prompting speculation about whether past demonologies held authentic insights. This interplay reveals a shift from mystical to material subversion, driven by scientific progress. Yet the counterpoint suggests that past texts' detailed demonologies may reflect a lost spiritual connection, influencing modern subcultures while popular culture prioritizes rationalism. Conclusion: Subversion's lasting legacy. The transformation of subversive texts from medieval grimoires to modern manifestos reflects a profound shift in human consciousness, from mystical explorations of spiritual realms to analytical critiques of social and power dynamics, driven by advancing scientific and societal understanding. Early texts like the Sworn Book of Honorius and the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic wove intricate demonologies, naming entities like Astaroth, possibly from oral traditions or religious syncretism, suggesting either spiritual insight or imaginative responses to an unknown world. As science illuminated nature and human behavior, texts like the Communist Manifesto and Rules for Radicals redirected subversion towards societal reform, reflecting a mature grasp of power structures. This evolution, fueled by Enlightenment rationalism and industrial progress, prioritized material concerns over metaphysical ones, shaping popular culture's embrace of empirical knowledge while subcultures preserved esoteric traditions. The counterpoint persists. Did medieval texts access a spiritual reality, their demon hierarchies reflecting genuine connections lost to modern skepticism? The detailed rituals of the Grand Grimoire or the Lesser Key of Solomon suggest a knowledge rooted in ancient lore, influencing modern occultism, yet their obscurity contrasts with the widespread impact of socio-political texts like Dos Kapital. The interplay between popular rationalism and subcultural mysticism highlights how subversive literature evolved, with texts like Mein Kampf and the Turner Diaries reflecting psychological and ideological manipulation, devoid of spiritual elements. This shift suggests progress in understanding human nature, yet questions linger about whether past authors, unbound by scientific constraints, tapped into metaphysical truths. The collective significance of these texts lies in their ability to challenge authority, weaving narratives of power, justice, and exploration. From Malleus Maleficarum's fanaticism to a vindication of the rights of woman's liberation, each text reflects its era's concerns, building on previous knowledge to reshape thought. Their influence on popular and subcultural narratives underscores their role in driving societal change, from witch hunts to revolutions. This comprehensive exploration affirms that subversive texts, whether mystical or material, form a dynamic body of knowledge, reflecting humanity's evolving quest to understand and redefine its place in the world, balancing rational progress with the enigmatic allure of past spiritual insights.